kid.
White Shoes Kelly Chevrolet. We offer a wide selection of new and used inventory with a team that guides you to your perfect fit. Our certified pre-owned options ensure peace of mind with warranties and rigorous inspections. Competitive pricing, flexible financing, and convenient trade and services, making your dream Chevrolet a reality. Trust our experienced service team to keep your vehicle in top shape and enjoy free car washes as long as you own your vehicle.
Copy that.
Yes. Welcome, everybody, to Around the Fort. This is week 9 of the high school football season. Oh, my mercy. How did it felt like week 9? Didn't it this week with the weather?
Went by quick.
So nice.
Nice and chilly.
Football season weather is upon us. I'm Casey O'Boyle with Northeast Indiana Game Night. I'm joined by Jake the Snake Smith. It's kind of the Snake Pit. It's the new modified Snake Pit. Jake, welcome back.
Glad to be here, Casey. I'm looking to text you this outline, and I found a good little picture of my dog Bondo there. Look at that guy.
Wow, he's a sweetie.
Everybody loves dogs.
You can send me that picture too, but send me the outline
I'm sending you the outline. I'm sorry.
I feel naked without it. And then we got Jackson Geiger behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz. And then Jeff is Jeff's over in the chicken coop. And I think that's what we got to come up with a nickname for Jeff. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Doing good, Casey. Doing good. Big bounce back victory for St. Francis on Saturday in front of the home crowd. Nice. And your boy Bodie Dickerson did catch a touchdown pass on that one, a 22-yarder. That was the second touchdown on the day for St. Francis. And give a shout out to some of our local guys. How about the offensive lineman Reese Muncie? Reese and Colin Butler, the other tackle.
Yeah,
so we got
buddy.
two local guys
on Leo and Muncie's from Carroll, right?
Yep.
So Carroll, Leo, shout out. Well done there. All right. Well, without further ado, let's jump right into the Coach in the Cave interview. We've got from Carroll High School defensive coordinator Joe Rudolph down in the cave tonight. Joe, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Well, it's nice to have you. You guys have had a great season. You know, you started with a couple losses, playing the tough schedule that you do, and a lot of people had a loss or two at the beginning of the season who are playing pretty well right now if you look at our standings here locally. And but since then, you've rattled off 6 in a row. You've got a big one tomorrow night against Northside. The Legends are playing really well right now. From a defensive standpoint, what are a couple keys that Carroll fans should be looking for in tomorrow night's game?
Northside's pretty talented offensively. A lot of good skill kids. They're fast, lots of team speed. The Newsom kid at quarterback is troublesome.
Mm-hmm.
I really like him. I like his film. He's fast. They try to get him out of the pocket a lot. So they move him around a little bit. So he's a run pass option. I think I had him at 800 and some yards passing this week and almost 700 yards rushing, and that's pretty decent on a quarterback. So
not too shabby.
I would say that I like our quarterback at Carroll, but this kid I like a lot, and he may be the best that will play just because of his skill set. You know, there's others that pass better or whatever, but
and it's his elusiveness, and when the pocket breaks or collapses, and that's when he's at his best and most dangerous, I believe, is when he's improvising, and he's so fast.
He is so fast. So, we have preached containing him, and we scramble drilled a lot this week. And, they got good receivers. They got good running back. O-line is physical. So, we're expecting a dogfight tomorrow night.
Excellent. Can you hear him okay, Jeff? Pull that a little closer to you, Coach, just so we can hold that there. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, that'll help.
Jeff, you got a question for Coach Rudolph?
Yeah, Coach. Since week number 3, once you entered conference, the defense has only given up 5.8 points per game. Why do you feel like you guys have been able to be so successful, especially in the SAC?
Well, I literally go back to our first 2 weeks. When when the SAC decided to change the schedule and play the out of conference games, Coach Dinan hopped right in and he said, we're going to shoot for the moon here, and we're going to play as good as we can find competition in the state. We did it last year, and got beat by a good HSE team down there, turned around, beat a good Warren Central team at our place, and then turned around this year, and a very good HSE team came in, and they manhandled us a little bit. It was a wake-up call for our kids. I didn't think we were playing fast enough. I didn't think we were playing physical enough. And so we turn around and go down to Center Grove week 2, and we seen big change immediately in 1 week that our kids, hey, you're capable of doing it. You just didn't do it in week 1. We played a lot more physical. We played a lot more fast, on defense. Our issue was we had a couple breakdowns that week that cost us. So, you come back for week 3 and you say, okay, we've solved the physicality. We've solved the speed that we have to play at a high level. Now let's take care of some of the detail stuff, and details matter, and how we practice matters. And since that time, our kids have just been on another level in practice, in games. And so, Jeff, I think the first 2 weeks just showed us how hard we had to play, even to beat the best teams in the SAC. So here we are.
Well, Coach, that Center Grove game, that was the cancellation game, correct? So you played a half?
Yep.
I remember watching a good chunk of that and thinking at the time, even though it was 28-14, it looked like you guys had some momentum. It looked like you'd found your sea legs, so to speak. I think it would have been a different game had you gotten 2 more quarters.
We wanted to play the 2 more quarters. So did Center Grove. Weather just didn't cooperate, but we wanted to stay and play it out because, again, 2 more quarters of playing Center Grove would just been so valuable for us down the road. And here we are. And like I said, it wasn't fun going down there. It wasn't fun having HSE show up and manhandle us as line of scrimmage, but it needed to happen almost. Because, again, our kids, there's a false sense of security in the summertime. You're playing 7-on-7. You're not in contact drills, and you get smacked in the mouth week 1 and week 2. You better step up or you're going to fold. And we've chosen to step up. So.
Yeah, for sure. Jake?
Well, when we were talking upstairs, Coach, something that you said that I really liked was, you guys aren't necessarily just looking to dominate here in the SAC. You're looking at these elite programs down by Indianapolis, down in Southern Indiana, and you're looking for the long road of how to do things to compete with them, and you guys have been doing it. How big of a deal do you think it is with this potential 3rd middle school happening for you guys? What's that going to look like for the future of Carroll football?
Well, we've got aspirations, outside of Fort Wayne. We have since Coach Dinan got here. But we got a big taste of it in 22 with the run we made in 22, and it's fueled the fire. And we're not the only school that wants to get back to that, but we got a taste of it. It tasted good.
Yep.
And we want more of it. And with our size and our growth, we feel that talent's going to be there as long as we continue on the path we're doing from a coaching standpoint and from a culture standpoint. Culture is big for us. We preach it nonstop. We've got good kids. They understand what expectations are. Coach Dinan drills it into them what our expectations are week in and week out, day in and day out. And again, we have higher aspirations. So we want to be good in Fort Wayne, but we want to play teams from the north that are good, and we certainly want to play teams in the donut down in Indy that are good too. So
Coach, real quick. Speaking of Coach Dinan, on the cover of tonight's game night,
he looks good.
Handsome fella on there.
Handsome
He had a
fella.
birthday
Nice.
last week. So.
Yeah, I saw that.
Happy birthday, Coach.
Nice shot there, Coach. How has he changed through the years, in your opinion? Has he mellowed? Has his style changed at all?
Remember when you told me I could?
Yeah. What, to keep off the record? Right. Well, we'll cut this out, Coach.
No,
wink, wink.
No, he hasn't mellowed.
He has not?
He has not.
Okay.
He just has high expectations on his coaches. He has high expectations on his players. He has high expectations on himself. And that just hasn't changed. And how he coaches and how he chooses to motivate and how he's not a yeller and a screamer like he was 15 years ago, but probably none of us are. But he hasn't mellowed really, because he just has a drive, and he drives the program to strive for something greater than just ourselves. So
nice. Well said. Jeff, do you got another question for Coach?
Coach, defensively, obviously you got a lot of good seniors year in, year out, but your sophomores are very impressive over there at Carroll, led by Eli Newhouser, the middle linebacker who leads the team with 70 tackles, and some other sophomores like Grabner and Goldacker. I mean, you got some guys, Ashton Wagner, Asher is another guy, but you've got some sophomores that are really, really contributing for you. Just talk about the sophomore class and how special they are.
Sure. You know, we walked into the spring and summer thinking that obviously Eli was going to play for us, and Eli's fantastic. He's a big kid, 6'3", 215, just a baby sophomore, but he runs real well, he flows real well, and he's very, very intelligent. You know, we played him a little bit as a freshman last year, and I just kept giving him more and more because mentally he could handle it. You know, he started on the baseball team as a freshman as well, so he's that type of athlete.
Is this John's son?
Sure is.
Is his older brother on the line?
He is.
Yeah, because they're totally different players. Yeah, totally different body types. Okay.
But almost 10 tackles a game, and you know, when our Mike and our Will are averaging 22, 23 tackles a game, we feel like we're doing something right. And that's what we're getting right now out of those two guys, which out of those two positions. But then Lincoln Grabner, we stuck in right away. Lincoln is a safety that we're playing at Falcon. And Lincoln's probably 6'1", 170 right now, but he has all the skills to be elite. And he's just getting better and better each week. He's making calls in second. Another very cerebral kid to go along with a skill set that you almost can't teach at times. But I'm excited we have him for a couple more years. Asher Wagner is playing the jack, plays both outside linebacker spots. Asher's big and strong, runs real well. But we've also had a game changer at our anchor, which is our strong side defensive lineman, and Gavin Goldacker. And I said in the summer to Coach Dine, and I'm going to take credit for this, I said, keep an eye on this Goldacker kid. He's about 6'4", 250, 255 right now. He's getting bigger. I don't think he's lost weight, which happens a lot of times in this season, but he's getting bigger. And he is an absolute disruptor on our defensive line. Technique-wise, he's not quite there yet. He's still a 15-year-old kid that doesn't figure out how good he is, hasn't figured it out yet. But between those four guys, they're pretty good. You know, our junior class isn't too shabby either. We start quite a few juniors that are pretty decent as well.
Well, do you want to mention a few of those, or a couple off the top?
Josh Tiller at safety has just been really good. We moved him from corner to safety. Josh bulked up a little bit in the offseason, runs real well.
He's a ball hawk, too. He's always around the ball.
He's a ball hawk.
Yep.
You know, we started Ethan Tranquil at as a senior. We started him at Will linebacker, and he got hurt early in the year against Center Grove and missed 4 games. And we played a junior kid at Will by the name of Coleman Tipton.
Yeah, he's had great numbers the last few weeks.
If he walks off the bus, you wouldn't have any idea who he is.
Yeah.
He's not imposing looking, but he reads real well, he flows real well, and he is an elite tackler.
He's a tackler, yeah.
So, and that's why I said and Ethan's back. So between Ethan, Coleman, and Eli, like I said, we're getting 22, 23, 24 tackles out of the inside, which is amazing.
Coleman wasn't even on your 2 deep at the beginning of the season. And I remember, checking, the tackles that come in from your statistician. And I'm like, who is this kid?
Yeah.
And I had to find the new updated 2 deep to identify him. And then when Coach sent a couple headshots of these kids, right?
Yep.
They both, he and Eli look like they're 12.
Yeah.
There were yearbook shots probably from a year ago. They look just babies. And, but to your point, they're good football players.
He's a good football player.
Yeah.
So we're blessed. I mean, we've got some decent seniors, as you said, but after this year, depending on how we got kids in rotations, which is good for us because of depth, but we'll have 8 or 9 starters depending how you figure it for next year.
No doubt.
It's huge.
Well, folks, if you're just now tuning into Around the Fort, we have Carroll defensive coordinator Joe Rudolph joining us down in the cave. Jake, you got another question for Coach?
Yeah, Coach. So big debate. It seems like year in and year out all the time. A 3-man front or 4-man front. What do you prefer and why? And now I know you're going to adjust that depending on what the offense is showing you as well, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say. I personally, I'm more of a 4-man front guy, but the more I watch 3-man front football and you watch that you can bring these bookends down, standing up maybe a yard or two off the ball, it just seems like it's really athletic. What's your take on it?
So, Coach Dinan came from Snyder, and they were a 4-4, 4-2-5 team.
Yep.
And, my previous, we were 4-3 team. So we kind of melded our defense. And, for the first, until 21, we were a 4-2-5 team. And those last couple of years of 4-2-5, I just felt like we just got manhandled at times, and we had void areas in the pass game, which really hurt us. And I just didn't feel like we had that fourth defensive lineman at the time. Now we kind of do now, but we didn't at the time. And I felt like first and foremost, the 3-4 fit our defensive profile or our body profiles of our kids.
Sure.
But then when we sat down and Coach Dinan, and I tell this story, and I'm very proud of this, but I came to Coach Dinan and I said, we need to switch to 3-4. He said, I agree. And that was about the 1st of December. We got beat out of the playoffs. And in January, we sat in his garage, a Diet Coke, a cigar, and a whiteboard, and we built our defense from scratch. We plagiarized a lot.
That's fantastic.
As any good coach would.
Yeah, you have to.
We went Alabama, Crimson Tide, and Georgia, and we've got some Iowa State principles, some 3-3 stack stuff in there as well. And we built our defense from scratch. But what we like about Jake is what you said. We feel like we can morph. You watched us last week, and we were in a 4 more than we were in a 3.
I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
We can get into a 5 front. We're putting 8 in the box now. We don't like to be we want to be too high as much as we can, but we're able to get into a 1 high look and put 8 in the box and load box, so every year we seem to morph a little bit. But what I tell you is it gives us a lot more flexibility than we ever had the past in the 4-2-5. So,
and it's funny you say that because Jackson and I are big Columbia City guys. We run the old school flex bone offense over there, and it's real wide. A lot of times you're double tight or over unbalanced fronts and stuff, and it seems like you can be in that 3-man front, and now you're flowing with 5 backers. You're all over the field. You can go against the pass, but then if you're going against a team like Columbia City, you're like, hey, we need to get guys down at the point of attack. And you get those 2 outside guys standing up off the ball. I'm kind of becoming more and more of a fan of it, especially as I watch some of what you guys are doing. So very, very cool.
Jeff?
Yeah, Coach. Nate Starks starting running back, the school's all-time leading rusher, which is just outstanding. But he's also starting cornerback for you. Can you just talk about what it's been like transitioning him more on the defensive side of the ball and also utilizing Jaden Van Pelt on defense?
Sure will.
You found a spot for him,
right? We sure did. we figured it out. First, Nate Starks. I can't speak highly enough of the kid that Nate Starks is. He's kind of our leader. He's our leader, team leader. He's our spiritual leader. He rallies the kids on a regular basis. So his transition was really simple for us because of his work ethic and his skill set. And he embraced it immediately. Hey, we're going to play you both ways. And his eyes kind of lit up and said, I'm game. But you're going to have to work at it. And he was kind of natural. It didn't come as fast in the summer that he would have wanted it to. But there were some growing pains for him. But summer, so he has turned out to be really, really good. And your concern. We don't like to play guys both ways. Your concern is, can he handle it from a stamina standpoint? And it hasn't phased him one bit. So that was a big tell for us to keep going in that direction. As far as Jaden Van Pelt, we actually discussed this upstairs. We've worked Jaden all year at corner. We just haven't really used him. And we used him last week against Northrop, and he was dynamite. I mean, he's really, really good. And I made the comment, and this is probably unpopular. It wasn't unpopular at the table we were talking, but I think he's a better corner college prospect than he is a receiver, and he's a dang good college prospect at receiver. But his instincts, his running ability, his hips, everything you want in the corner, he has. So it's no secret that he's going to get more time on the defense moving forward, into the playoffs and then into the next year.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Coach, let's segue into like philosophy and how you've changed as a defensive coordinator through the years. I mean, is there a school of thought of, showing a ton early in the season in terms of looks and blitz packages and things of that nature, and then you dumb it down towards the end, or is it vice versa? Do you save a few things for the playoffs?
We haven't really saved anything. I'll be really honest with you. We're not really a sexy defense. Our scheme, as I told you, that we worked on. We're an alignment assignment football team. We're not a big pressure team. We try to bring pressure where we can. We pick our spots. We're not a big blitz team. When we first started in the 4-2-5, man, Coach Dinan would turn to me and say, heat up the quarterback.
Guys should be coming from every direction.
And we're just not that team.
Is that coming from the top, from Doug, or is that your philosophy?
So when Coach Dinan and I sat down and started looking at 3-4 again, we felt like we were getting advantages with our alignment.
Okay.
And we want to be really good in our alignment. We want to be really good in our assignment, but we're really boring. On a Friday night, our call sheet's pretty big. About 30% of it gets used at the end of the day because, if we can get pressure with 3 and 4 up front and get enough pressure and collapse pockets and make him hurry throws, we're not a big sack team. We're not a big, big blitz team, but if we can get pressure and let our secondary do the work and they're in the right spots, then it takes care of itself. So I'll be really honest with you. We're kind of boring on Friday nights. You're on our headset. It's kind of boring. So,
on the defensive side of things, it's assignment football, and you trust your guys to read their keys and know what they're supposed to be doing, and you simplify it because I think sometimes things get a little complicated.
As I told you, we want to play fast. We want to play physical, and if they're thinking, they're not going to be fast.
Right.
So the other thing that we have going for us is our offense in practice is so dynamic. And tonight we ran a 2-minute drill and Jimmy just picked us apart. And it's just, I get so frustrated. And Coach Dinan says, he's going to Iowa.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jimmy does that to a lot of people.
What I can tell you is Monday through Thursday, when we come together in our 1s versus 1 periods, we are getting better each week because of our offense being so dynamic. So that's as good as it gets for us. So having to go up against our offense week in and week out. And if we get a win, if we get a victory in a 2-minute drill or in a 7, we get the better of a 7. It's few and far between, but we're high-fiving, I can tell you that. Yeah. Because it just doesn't happen often.
You got another question for Coach?
And to kind of piggyback off that, I think looking at the Snyder game, kind of to your point there, you got a couple of takeaways, and I think that is if you're getting pressure with 3 or 4, man, just opens up for your secondary, like you said, Coach.
Yeah.
Jeff, you got another question for Coach? We got about 3 minutes left in this segment before we cut him loose.
Last question, Coach. You said you like to play a little some extra guys in the box and have that single safety deep. Is that just because Grabner's that good back there that he can mask, not having 2 safeties up top?
That's a great point. Yes, we feel comfortable with Lincoln being a single high safety. He has proven that he can pull it off. He's just a smart kid. And we roll Josh Tiller down in the box. And again, I told you, Josh bulked up and Josh has turned in, he played corner his first 2 years with us and he has turned into a hitter. His film is impressive of how physical he is. So putting him in the box with being the extra defender, he's quick, he gets off blocks, and then Lincoln manning the whole field from center field has been a comfort level for us that we feel like we can pull it off because of those 2 guys especially.
Yeah, and I think he's deceptively fast.
He's deceptively fast, and he's going to get faster. He's young for his grade, too. He just turned 15 years old.
Oh, he's a baby.
He's a baby.
Yeah,
so,
well, he's a pretty good athlete.
He's pretty good. And he's going to fill out, and he's going to get bigger, and he's definitely somebody to watch.
Coach, we got about a minute and a half. Maybe quickly tell our viewers about your background as a coach, where you got your start, and kind of the history there.
Sure. So I'm a Carroll grad, went to Carroll, didn't play football late in my career there. And then, and I told you, somehow I ended up on the heritage staff with Bob Yeager, and, Bob's a Hall of Fame type of a guy.
Good one to learn under. Yep.
Stadium after him or whatever. And so I got to work with Bob for 4 years in my college days. And then ended up at Carroll prior to Coach Dinan showing up. And then when Coach Dinan came on, he retained me, and away we went. And
nice.
I tell Coach Dinan I'm going out when he goes out. So, and I'm lucky to work for the guy. I can tell you that. He's forgotten more about the game than I'll ever know. And bouncing X's and O's off him on Saturday and Sunday mornings is some of my favorite time because he's just brilliant behind the scenes, and his whiteboard ability is fantastic. And when we sit and draw stuff up, man, that's when I feel like, I'm in my element. So
that's in the morning. So there's donuts and cigars.
That is correct.
Right. Okay. Well, excellent. Well, thank you, Coach, for joining us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Carroll defense coordinator Joe Rudolph. I'll walk him upstairs, Jeff, if you cut to a commercial, and I'll be back in 2 minutes. Thanks, Coach.
Why choose Kelly Chevrolet? We offer a wide selection of new and used inventory with a team that guides you to your perfect fit. Our certified pre-owned options ensure peace of mind with warranties and rigorous inspections. Competitive pricing, flexible financing, and convenient trade and services, making your dream Chevrolet a reality. Trust our experienced service team to keep your vehicle in top shape and enjoy free car washes as long as you own your vehicle.
Welcome back, Snake.
Hey, how we doing, Jeff?
Doing good, doing good. Yeah, no, the cover looks real nice here.
It did. Came out awesome.
Notice Cam Rubel and Mason Treesh.
Yeah, man, Treesh, what a great season he's had.
This is Joey Everett down here for Adams Central.
Man, AC every year, week one, maybe you count them out this year, and man, look at how that's turned out. That Garrett loss is looking pretty good now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. 49-24, they beat Bluffton. One of the things that I wanted to well, we got Casey coming in, so I know we'll get to it. But, yeah, pretty cool. Number 14 and number 9 for Busco. Help me out here, Jake. Are you good with those two numbers?
And 14 and 9. I'm just taking a guess. I'm guessing one's Iannacelli.
But another cool picture there. And, of course, Coach Dinan in the middle. So your 5 conference champions being represented on the cover. Casey, that was a fun one.
Yeah, thank you. Reggie Telemack again. This is a funny story, Jeff. Week 9, I had my niece's wedding this past week up in Kendallville in the lake area up there. And so I'm in scramble mode. I forgot to assign cover detail. And all of a sudden, I think it was Sunday night or Monday morning. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have anybody doing the cover. So I reached out to Reggie and said, hey, I'm in a pickle. Are you able to help me out? And he didn't respond back right away. And I waited about 4 hours. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to send him some art. I'm going to send him a headline and a subhead and see where it goes. And literally an hour or two later, he came back with that. I mean, the guy is a master. He is so good. And I got it back and I was like, wow, it might be my favorite cover of the whole year. And we had a lot of good ones this year. But again, a nice opportunity, Jeff, to kind of salute the conference champs here in the 260.
Yeah, and it kind of went with like a red, white, and blue theme. I really like how it's white on the bottom. And then you got the hands, you got the sun in the background. There's a lot going on, but you got to look for it.
The high five there from the Busco kids. That was a great picture. Amy Kretzinger takes pictures up there and submits some pictures of the Busco kids. And then the 3 middle shots are all Doug Blackwell pictures. And then that bottom picture, I think that's Aaron Hershey from Adams Central. And that was submitted by Sabrina Innes. And she sent some pictures. And then, of course, I think you guys may have already talked about it, but Tristan Newsom, player of the week, man, he's had a heck of a season. And I know Coach BJ thinks he's the best player in the conference. I don't believe he is, but he's certainly in that top 5 conversation, I believe. Sure. And he's had a heck of a season. And they were the B. Antonio's team of the week. So they got fed tonight, and I think they were very happy. It's funny. I saw this large man with dreadlocks running through the parking lot coming after me as I was leaving Northside. And for a second, I was a little scared. I thought he was going to, run me down and drive me into the ground. I think it was Jalen Smith.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I said, hey, Jay, you scared me. My heart stopped for a little bit. I thought, I think he wanted some more pizza.
Oh, yeah.
But at any rate, thanks for showing that, Jeff.
Oh, for sure.
Well, let's jump in. I think we can save page 2 in the center for next week, if you're okay with that. It's all preview stuff. This is our last printed issue. But there's some of the seniors there from West Noble. They've had a heck of a season. And it's funny how Garrett, we've given them so much credit and deservedly so. West Noble now all of a sudden has turned into the hunter instead of the hunted. It just feels like they're lurking, and that's a dangerous team come postseason. Seth Pruitt, guys, 249 yards shy of passing big brother Brandon. I think he gets it this week.
I think you're right.
And then down just a little bit, Jeff, the play of the week from Peter Franklin.
What up? Woo!
There were so many great ones this last week, but the block PAT was something else.
Just has to be. What a gutty end of that game.
Yes. And of course, the Southside folks were clamoring for more pizza. I mean, they're so greedy out there. I was like, you already got your pizza. And had I known you were going to upset Lures, I would have saved the pizza. But great win for Coach Goodwell, and he's got some really good young talent. That young stud there is only a sophomore, Dietrich Smith, and he made the first tackle of the game, and he made the game-sealing PAT block, and then a bunch of plays in between.
You got to love it.
Yep.
Boy, he had no problem getting through that offensive line either. I thought he was going to tackle the holder.
Yeah, he almost could have just caught the ball from the snapper. It seemed like he was in there so quick, but what a great win again for the Archers. And I know we all are really happy for Coach Goodwell. All right. This first one is Snyder Wayne. And why don't we, let's see. Well, no. Is that the first game?
On the rundown?
Yeah. Or am I out of order here? I thought it was Carroll Northside. Did we skip a couple pages, or did I just put them in wrong? This outline is faulty.
I could have.
Whoever sent me this outline is faulty.
There's Carroll.
Snyder Wayne. Okay, let's dive into it. Jeff and Jake. Jake, why don't you go?
Yeah, well, Wayne has been kind of a roller coaster. Beating up on South. Played Carroll very tough. Same with North, but then you look at Snyder, the way that they're playing tough this year, playing good ball. Quarterback Aaron Vance making a lot of improvements. I just think defensively, Snyder's definitely got the edge in this game. But what do you think, Jeff?
Well, with Wayne, last week I actually covered the Northside game, and it's getting to be pretty predictable as far as, hey, we want to run the ball. And Wayne had the single safety back. That was Malik Moore. And man, Malik Moore can really come up and pop you. So Northside just took away that run right away. And 3 fumbles. I think it was 3 fumbles on the first 3 possessions for Wayne. Did not help things. I hope the Generals can get back on track this week. And getting back on track does not mean a win against Snyder. As you see, the freshman Braylon Burton just seems to be getting better and better every single week. I feel like Snyder's going to be full steam ahead going into sectionals, and I don't think they're going to have much of an issue with this game.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think this is a tough one to get right against Snyder for sure. And Wayne just seemed like they were rolling, and then all of a sudden they ran into the buzzsaw known as the Northside Legends, and they got whooped by 30 points. So it'll be interesting to see. This is that time of year, especially locally, where all these teams, there's nothing to really play for. Right. You want to win, you want to keep momentum, but you also want to keep guys healthy. And, there'll be a lot of guys, I'm sure, that'll be resting tomorrow night that are maybe, have some bumps and bruises. And so that's what makes these games next to impossible to predict, especially margins. You might be able to predict winners, but not margins, because there'll be a lot of guys sitting, I think, in the second half of some of these games. But by the same token, you want to keep your momentum. You want to keep, you don't want to, pump the brakes at all, because a week from now it gets real. So Wayne, they've got to figure out some things and get right for the postseason, because there's way too much talent for them to limp into this thing. And they've got a great draw. But that being said, Coach Haydock's got to work some things out. All right, let's talk Carroll Northside. Jeff, that's you and I. I'll go ahead and start first. We just had Coach Rudolph down here, defensive coordinator from Carroll. Really nice guy. I've known him for many, many years, but not that well. And he's always been super nice, very, very cordial. And I think he does a great job. And, this is an opportunity against a Northside team that, let's face it, Northside's playing really well right now. Jeff, you've been singing their praises since the beginning. We knew they had talent. And it felt like, at least in my mind, until a week ago, maybe underutilized talent, underappreciated talent, undervalued, whatever you want to call it, because they just didn't have any of those really signature wins. Northridge, yes. But Northridge, I don't think is quite as strong as they've been in years past. But my goodness, 42-12 over Wayne, a Wayne team that was playing pretty darn good. I really, really impressed with what the Legends did a week ago. And again, Carroll, hats off to the Chargers, conference champs. But again, you don't want to take your foot off the pedal. You've got to keep going forward, and you want to win this game. You don't want to put any doubt in your kids' minds about, about any of that. You want them surging. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, 100%. And to your point, Northridge 3-5 on the season. But yeah, Casey, I mean, if you're North Side, you got to keep that momentum going, because when the playoffs hit, you got the number one team in the state coming up, and you want to go into that bye week with a lot of confidence and feeling good about yourself. And a strong performance against Carroll is going to do that for them. They don't necessarily have to win the game, but compete at a high level. Same thing for the Chargers. This one's really interesting because you've got two of the better safeties in the SAC in this game, and I'm sure that both teams are going to want to run the ball, but who can actually make that happen should have the edge. Northside got back Kingley last week, and boy, he looks like he is at 100%. I mean, the quick feet, the cuts, the speed, the strength, he looks back, and I'm sure he's going to be a big weapon and a big storyline in this game on Friday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And a year ago in this game, Tristan Newsome, 58 rushing yards, 51 passing yards, pretty pedestrian. But again, this was kind of his breakout game to a certain degree against the Carroll Chargers. And I think kind of a preview, certainly for Coach BJ and those offensive coaches for this year, like, hey, I think this is our guy next year behind center. And he's had a heck of a season.
Yeah, I think he might have been the fourth option last year behind Tay and Pearson. And they also had the other wide receiver playing quarterback.
Yes, the punter, Dylan.
Yep,
I can't think of his name, but yes, I think he was option 4. And by the end of the regular season, he had kind of emerged and gave them just enough, I think, on film to believe he could be the guy this year. And man, what a season he's had. All right, let's get to the next one. Concordia and Bishop Dwenger. Why don't Jake, you and I will tackle this one. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, sure. Man, big fan of Nick Pelkington and Brady O'Keefe. Do a good job controlling things defensively. I think one of the things for Dwenger, especially prior to the playoffs, is they've got to find kind of an offensive identity. And I think this could be a good game for that. Just, are they more spread? Are they more power? What exactly is their goal and what they're trying to do? And can they kind of implement that with a firm force going into the playoffs? But Concordia, that, Avery Cook is finally starting to turn it on. I think that the Belshner kid has been banged up a little bit this year. But they've got obviously a great wide receiving core at Concordia, good skill position players, and they're going to need all of them. I think that the edge goes to Dwenger just with their defense and the tenacity that they have to find the football. Just a huge fan of the Dwenger linebacking corps, and I think that could be the edge in the game.
I would agree. Last week the Saints against Snyder, it was 7-0, and truthfully, I thought the Saints were playing them even for the entire first half. They had an opportunity in the red zone late in the second quarter. And I think, they got a little aggressive and threw, I believe it was on second down into the end zone, and it got picked off. Had they maybe ran 2 more running plays, kept the ball in the middle of the field, burned some more clock, I think with that kicker, Lucas Wynn, it's 7-3 at half. Instead, Snyder gets the ball back, gets a couple big plays, kicks a field goal on their end for the last play of the half, and it's 10-0 Snyder. Felt totally different. And the Saints, remember, had a big return by Brady O'Keefe to start the third quarter, and then they got 3 points. It could have been 7-6, guys. And I'm not saying they win that game, but I promise you it's not 11 points. I mean, the Saints battled.
It's very impressive, the special teams unit for Bishop Dwenger. Talking to some Columbia City coaches, I think that's a big worry that we have going into the sectional. In my opinion, you have the number 2 kicker in the state in Lucas Wynn, and then you look at his long snapper, Vince Dippenbrock. Pretty much you could arguably say with long snapping and kicking prowess, the best combo in the state. And I think that's the difference in this game.
Well, all right, Jeff, let's move on to Homestead and Lures. You give me 3 minutes. I'm sorry, we haven't been using the clock here. We've been improvising. Did you just flash a gang sign at me? What'd you do there, Jackson? Oh, he dropped the
That's a
3 on
Columbia
me.
City gang
Is
sign,
that what
yeah.
that is? All right, this next game is Homestead at Bishop Lures. Jeff, you and I are going to tackle it. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, nothing like a game against Concordia to get back on track for Homestead, picking up a big 42-0 win. But they're healthy right now, and they're starting to come into their own. Michael White completing 81% of his passes in that win with the 2 touchdowns was super impressive. Carter Kennedy back averaging 16.6 yards per catch. So Sparty picking the right time to get all their guys on the same page and play their best football of the year. For Bishop Lures, it's nice to see Patterson had a good game against Southside, but really hard to gauge this team, Casey. Week in, week out, they really haven't been blowing anybody out, but steadily picking up wins throughout the course of the season. You like to think that they're going to be competitive in this one and maybe even be able to pull off a victory, but I feel like I just don't know with this team week by week.
I totally agree, Jeff. I mean, they're an enigma, are the Bishop Lures Knights. And, early on, I guess we thought, okay, the defense is ahead of schedule versus the offense, so we cut them a little slack. And then we also wanted to praise them because after that week 1 loss to Leo, they started winning close games. And we're like, okay, they figured out how to win these close games. Well, not the last 2 weeks, right? 8-0 against Bishop Dwenger, a close game. They didn't score a single point. And then, of course, last week, 14-13 against another rival, the Southside Archers, and an upset. Make no mistake. I mean, Lures had to be considered a 2 or 3 score favorite in this contest. Sure. And so something's going on out there. I don't know what it is. The communication I had with Coach Lindsay this week was he was very complimentary of Southside, as he should be, but he also said, this is gut check time for our guys. We're going to have to, I guarantee the practices this week out at Lures Field, or on the practice field rather, have been very, very spirited. And they have their attention.
Yeah, feel like.
Go ahead, Jeff.
You just feel like they have way too many skill position players to only have 3 receiving touchdowns on the season, 6 interceptions. And Dario Williams has been held under 100 yards rushing the past 3 games.
People have figured out that's what they want to do first and foremost, is run with Daria, and they've taken that away. And I agree with you. And it goes back to the beginning of the year, the whole 2-headed quarterback thing. That, you don't want to make too big of a deal about it in the moment, because sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And there's that old adage, they say, if you have 2 starting quarterbacks, you have none. And it felt that way for much of the season. I think Devin Patterson has kind of emerged now. He's their guy. And I think, truthfully, if they allow him to run more, design quarterback rollouts with some RPOs, he had opportunities in the Dwenger game in particular that he did not take. And whether it was by design or his own read, where he threw the ball into traffic and he could have tucked it and ran for 6, 8, 10, 12 yards. And if they use his legs, not only in this game, but in the postseason, I think they're going to be playing the kind of offensive football that we've come to expect from Bishop Lures. But I'm with you, Jeff. There's just way too many good athletes on that side of the ball to not score more than they have. And I know they've been beat up on the line. Zach Wall is supposed to be back. They're offensive tackle. That'll be a huge pickup because they've missed him.
Yeah, he's a big boy. And you got to remember, in this game now, Homestead's lost a few players to Bishop Lures. 4 starting defensive players for Lures came from Homestead. Homestead's not happy about that. They've got a tough sectional draw playing all of the indie schools. Homestead's going into this game wanting to put a beating down on the Knights.
Well, for sure. And a lot of those guys that departed Sparty's sideline and went over to Bishop Lures are making a huge impact on that side of the ball for the Knights. And the defense is not the problem right now out there.
Yeah. And have you heard any update on Jalen White with Bishop Lures?
I have not. I know that they were going to keep that kind of quiet at least till the postseason. I imagine this week I'll probably pose that question to Coach and maybe have a report next week. All right, the next one, Southside. Speaking of Southside, at Northrop, another intriguing contest here. And I've got Jake and I on this one. Jake, why don't you tackle it first?
Yeah, as much as I'm sure South misses TJ Snow with that deep ball threat, the entire team is bought in. And man, what a gutty performance to beat Lures the way that they did. And watching Josiah Malone run, that kid, little dude, but gosh, he is just such a spirited runner. If there was a way to get his jersey, I would wear number 5 all the time because he is just absolute unit. And man, I'm telling you, South's defense is right there. You got to love what their defense has been able to do so far. Especially, I know that Caleb Kingway wasn't in the Northside game, but the way that as close as South played that game and as close as they've been in a lot of these games, they're really turning the corner. They're going to struggle a little bit. Northrop's quarterback play and wide receivers are obviously tough. Callison's obviously been banged up a little bit through the year, but a 6-game slump is tough to get out of. And, you got a team that is bought in and playing above maybe what some people would say is what their ceiling is. I personally would disagree. I think that they're playing top tier. But man, you think about that and it's like, yeah, Northrop is a bigger school. They got a bigger pool to draw from and should have more kids. But gosh, man, I feel like South can be in this game and not only in it, I think Southside can win this game. I really do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you look at just their schedules. The Archers have won 2 of their last 3. Northrop, as you said, lost 6 in a row. And you think about where Northrop was at the beginning of the season with David Callison slinging it around and all those weapons in the aerial game. You just thought, wow, this could be a team by the end of the year. Maybe we'll be hovering around 500, which for Northrop would be great in recent memory. But instead they've dropped 6 in a row and Southside's the team that's trending up. And it's so fickle, dealing with high school age kids, the emotions and everything else. But I'm with you. I think Southside, even though they're young, they're athletic, they're playing with a ton of confidence. And I think they go over Spuller tomorrow night expecting to win this game. And Northrop, David Callison didn't play last week. I tried to find out if he was playing this week and I struck out. My hunch is he's going to play. And they need him and they need to get back to doing what they did early in the year when they were putting up big chunks of points and real estate. And they've been kind of subdued here in recent weeks. Certainly some of that has to do with the schedule when you play the likes of Dwenger, Snyder, and Carroll.
Right.
But that being said, this is an opportunity to kind of get right, play a team that maybe they match up better against, and the weather should be perfect. And if they can open things up, watch out. Maybe that Bruins aerial attack will, resurrect itself.
Right.
All right. The next one, give me 3 minutes on this one, if you would, Jackson. Columbia City at Norwell. I think this is Jeff and Jake. Jake, why don't you start first, and then we'll turn it over to Jeff.
Well, I tell you, it's one of those things when you start looking on paper and you start looking at the matchups. Columbia City has the advantage, in my opinion, in all phases. And it's after the way the Leo game went down last week and how emotional it was for both sides at the end of that. Also with that, shout out to all my Leo boys out there. Shot, Livingston, all you dudes, man.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot. Was it legit? Or, obviously, if you talk to the Columbia City people, I've talked to both. The Columbia City people are like, hey, this is the way the game was called. We won.
Yep.
And the Leo people have a little different tone.
Well, so it all goes. I'll say this. First of all, for something that is controversial, I don't want to say bad because that's not fair. For something controversial to happen, you would much rather it happen in week 8.
Yeah.
So first of all, it wasn't for a conference title. East Noble wrapped it up. Second of all, it wasn't the last game before the playoffs. So you're not worried about momentum of winning a game going into it. So those are positives. Was there an inadvertent whistle or 2 from the officials? Yes.
Or 2.
100%. And Trent Schott is a smart dude and a hell of a football coach. And his son's one of the best in the state. Love him to death. And we talked a little bit back and forth on X, and I think that we're both right. At the end of the day, in a PAT, if the ball crosses the plane and it's blocked, it's dead ball. But on a 3-point field goal, if the ball doesn't cross, stays behind the plane of the line of scrimmage, then it's a live ball. Now, Trent's argument is if that inadvertent whistle wouldn't have blown, a Leo player probably would have jumped on that ball. And he might be right. Trent is correct in that he probably would be right.
But you don't know.
You never know. Right. And a heads-up play by Ethan McIntosh to pick up that ball and run it in. And so, yeah, it was a crappy way to go.
So in a nutshell, somebody blew a whistle and they shouldn't have blown a whistle.
Yeah,
Is that what happened?
That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
And I will say you've got to give grace to the officials a little bit. I'll say this as a Columbia City homer. It was senior night for us. And if it was away and senior night at Leo, I'd rather seen them win. And I love Columbia City with all my heart. It's more about what was best in that moment for the kids. And I know that sucks, but just so thankful for the officials that this wasn't a playoff game.
I think that's fair, Jake.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. Love the Leo fan base, love all those guys. Mike Barber, all those dudes are top class. And
man, I got you off on a tangent, didn't I?
Yeah. So
I wanted to talk about this game.
Anyway, let me get back on track real quick. But so yeah, when you look at on paper, Columbia City, Norwell, Columbia City has the size, the offensive line. Caden Bonstedt, who is probably one of the best linemen sophomores in the area, is getting healthy at the right time. They've got a platoon of running backs. They're throwing the ball well. Fuller obviously has just cemented himself, in my opinion, as the best Columbia City football player of all time. His numbers would not lie to that. But the problem is, I don't know what it is, these stinking Norwell Knights are the Achilles heel. And it's Coach Adam Harder, and he's got his guys up there, and Coach Josh Gerber, all those guys, they teach. County football is different, so we're not sleeping on Norwell, and I'm hoping that I told some of the Columbia City varsity coaches, I don't think that we realize how big of a game that last week was, because that's a game that we would usually mentally break down and lose, and no disrespect to us. It's not anything against our coaching or our players. It's just how it would happen, and then we would slump off in this week 9, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Coach Fox and this crew have got these guys dialed in, and I think that it's going to be a great game, but Norwell's going down.
Let's give Jeff just a minute or two here to chime in, maybe offer some Norwell perspective. But you like that 5 Lakes logo on there, didn't you?
I did, big time.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, boy, Columbia City just added to the wealth there in the running back room, putting McIntosh back there and him just dominating the way they did. I was honestly surprised when I saw the scores come out. That the game was so tight and that Columbia City, I wasn't surprised that they pulled off the victory. I was thinking Leo would go into that game and win it, but that's just a great way to respond to such a tough loss at East Noble for Columbia City. And I feel like they're just going to get better and better heading into the postseason here into week 1. For Norwell, it's always so hard for me because I don't get to see him that much. And it's really hard to find the stats on the Max Preps. They don't really post them, but just kind of looking at their schedule right there, just a tough year for them. And I expect Columbia City to come out and have the 35-second or the 35-point running clock in the second half.
Yeah, I would agree. To put a button on that, I think Columbia City is definitely surging at the right time. This would be a great opportunity for them to get up early, rest some guys, get a bunch of younger guys some playing time going into that matchup next week against the Saints.
I will say this about the Leo game. Number one, I didn't see anybody even attempt to jump on that ball from Leo. It was straight into the celebration and that's a free kick. It's not a PAT like you guys said. So I was,
that's a fair point too. Yeah.
I was a little bit surprised about that. And I get it with the inadvertent whistle, but I mean, that was a bang, bang play. And so, right after that ball was blocked, you would expect somebody to hop on it or try to pick it up and go the other direction with it. And then, so inadvertent whistle, it was blown dead. So they replayed the down and they replayed it and Columbia City scored. I don't really see what the argument is there that, Columbia City deserved to win that game in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point for sure. For sure. All right, let's talk DeKalb Leo. Jake, you and I are going to do this. I'm going to go first.
By all means, please.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
I love your jersey, by the way. It's a beautiful jersey.
Casey, I wanted to wear this just to let you know I am going to be wearing this when we have our mandate over at the Dwenger Columbia City.
Okay, Mrs. O'Boyle will be there too, okay. So just be careful. We're bros. We can do it. All right, DeKalb at Leo and DeKalb, they've won 2 games quietly, granted Norwell and Belmont, but they're putting up some points. They're getting back to doing what DeKalb wants to do, which is run the ball with Caden Hinkle.
Yep.
There are no secrets with how they want to control the clock, control tempo with that running game. And when Caden gets a head of steam going downhill, he's one of the best in the area. they're starting to get some guys back to get a little healthy, and their line is starting to get into that mid-season form where they're pushing guys off the ball, and that's the name of the game this time of year. Leo, conversely, they've lost 2 of their last 4. And I know they're still working some things out. I think the Escara kid's really starting to come along.
Mhm.
You know, the 18 points last week is a little misleading because that first drive before Gavin Smith stripped it, and you know, that could have resulted in points. And then they had another possession in the fourth quarter that resulted in just 3 points. So a little misleading. Their score probably should have been closer to 28 to 31 points, truthfully. But that being said, this is still a very good, talented Leo team, and they've got arguably 2 of the best players, not only in our area but in the state, in Brock Schott and Landon Hepner. And I know Coach Dorfler's probably feeling things out and probably doesn't want to show too much with the postseason just right around the corner. But now he's got another team that he's going to want to try to avenge a regular season loss against, joining the East Noble Knights and now the Columbia City Eagles. So they've got their work cut out for them, but they do feel a little bit like a sleeping giant to me with all the attention that's been given towards East Noble. And then, of course, you know, last week with the miracle finish, you know, for Columbia City. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think hell has no fury like the Leo Lions. I think that's when you look at the games that they had with East Noble and Columbia City both and how they ended, I still feel like in that East Noble game, I think it was Hepner. If I remember right, it was like a seam route that he slipped up a little bit and got burnt. It was an inside DB somewhere in there, got burned over the top, and that was a kind of gimme touchdown that wouldn't have happened if he wouldn't have lost his footing. That's a play he normally wouldn't make that mistake. And you look at how close both those games are, I just think Leo is about to tee off. And then you look at playing teams 2 times. It's tough to beat somebody twice.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, as tough as it was for Columbia City to get that win at the end with how things happened, and with the East Noble game being as tight as it was all throughout, man, Leo's going to be difficult to handle. And I think this is a get right game for them against the Barons. And like you said, I think Hinkle's got to run the ball hard, but I can see a lot of defensive line penetration from Leo. They're going to want to get after it.
I agree. And it's setting up nicely, I think, for Leo, knowing that they were going to have that motivation in both those potential matchups. They were up in that East Noble game, weren't they?
Yeah.
By a touchdown. It seemed like the whole game.
Point.
Yeah. And then 2 scores in the fourth quarter, I believe, by East Noble, and the Knights stole it, and then consequently are conference champs. All right. Well, let's talk a little East Noble at Belmont. The NE8 champs, the Knights of East Noble, 7-1. Man, they're playing really good football since that week 2 loss at Snyder. Belmont has lost 30 or 31 straight. My goodness. I mean, again, I think the guys are coming down the pike at the lower levels. So be patient, Belmont fans. You know, keep encouraging Coach Hall and that coaching staff to get all those little guys out to practice and trying out for the team. This will turn the corner at some point. It's just not going to be this year. Jake and Jeff, you guys are going to tackle it. Jeff, why don't you start?
Yeah, I mean, East Noble, gosh, what a great way to end the year at New Haven and at Belmont. They're going to head into that game against Southside with guys, you know, really kind of getting their second win and hopefully at 110%. So dominant performance at New Haven, but, you know, their sophomore class is really good there at East Noble. I personally think that East Noble, who's now number 4 in the coaches poll, I think this is a state championship caliber team. And I think if they were to play Snyder again, and that game was just played in one night and not one night and one morning, that it would be a lot closer. I think that they are a totally legit team, top 3 in Northeast Indiana, and then they would give Carroll or Snyder everything they could handle right now.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. The Knights are just rolling. I mean, they're definitely the team to watch right now going into that sectional. One thing I love about them is, you know, they run a lot of great pulling action on their offensive line, and you see it all the way down to middle school in their youth programs. They're teaching, you know, that GH counter pull, GT counter pull, all the stuff that they do, and they're so smooth with it. I mean, I don't know. Whoever their line coach is up there, man, is doing a fantastic job. And obviously they've got a heck of a running back, Dylan Carroll we'll talk about later. But one thing that impresses me, this is probably a little controversial for me to say, but I think Riley Biddle has the best. So behind probably Jimmy Sullivan, not talking about the entire quarterback play of everything the route combinations, the footwork and things. I'm just talking specifically about deep ball passing threat. I think Riley Biddle is number 2 in our area behind Jimmy Sullivan. He can drop a ball in a bucket at 30, 35 yards, and he's been doing it against the best teams all season and the best DBs. And I think, unfortunately for Belmont, that's going to be the telltale here. And you got to find out what you're playing for pride at this point. What can you take out of the positives out of this game? Coaching the middle school in the NE8 like we do, I will say that 7th and 8th grade Belmont teams are improving. We just had a heck of a battle with them here on Tuesday night at 7th grade, and another good battle in the playoffs. They made the Final Four in the playoffs in the NE8 and 8th grade. So I think the troops are coming. I think there's some positive stuff there, but they've got to find a way to get a win next season early on and start to build that momentum. And hopefully they can do that as the season closes out here and find some, like we've said the last couple of seasons, find some structure, something to build on, something to bolster the troops and to rally behind.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think those are good thoughts right there for sure. And we're certainly pulling for Belmont to,
of course,
they don't have to win a state title like they did in 2008, but my goodness, let's get a little success there, get a win or two, and get that vibe back. And I think Coach Hall's a great guy, and I love the fact that he hasn't bailed, because a lot of coaches after a year or two of that cannot deal with losing and what that means, and he's determined to see this thing get corrected, and I give him a ton of credit. All right, next game. We do, well, look at that picture of Coach Ben Johnson. I mean, what a handsome lad. Great sunglasses.
With more swag in the area than that guy.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing he doesn't have there is a big slice of B. Antonio's pizza. But other than that, what a picture. And
he does now.
He did tonight for sure. I'm sure he kept a couple for the road. But we'll talk more about this next week if you want, Jeff. I don't know if you can keep it, and we'll talk a little bit about the playoffs next week in our playoff preview. But this
Casey,
ahead,
just real quick, going back to Belmont, their leading tacklers, Oliver Whirling, 83 tackles, 7 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks, really putting together a heck of a season. And he's only a junior, so it's going to be nice heading into next year with your defensive star coming back for the.
Yeah, and there are a few leaders on that side of the ball that have decent numbers that are coming back next year. Cam Freet, their big two-way lineman, has missed the last couple of weeks. He is supposed to be back this week, and I think that will give him a little bit of boost in the trenches where they're already pretty thin. All right, this next one, New Haven, Huntington North. There's a young sophomore quarterback there for New Haven that did some good things, I think, a week ago. He's definitely a better runner than Dominic Wallace, the senior, and I think that's something they need from their quarterback position right now. So I wouldn't be surprised that maybe he gets a few more snaps in tomorrow night's game. But they've been beat up with injuries too, has Coach Vance Shear's team. And last week, man, they just really took it on the chin against East Noble 65-0. And then Huntington North, I mean, they're going to probably win this game and finish 6-3 with 3 losses to the big 3, East Noble, Columbia City, and Leo. And all 3 of those games were pretty competitive. It's not like they got their doors blown off. So Coach Eschbach's done a fabulous job, I think, this year with the Vikings. And this is, a game, really an opportunity at home to get a win, feel good about your regular season. And they've got a very, very doable sectional in Class 4A. So any thoughts on this one, Jake?
No, I agree with what you said about the sectional. This team's proven to score points and speaking about the Vikings. And, no disrespect to the Barons whatsoever in DeKalb, but I had really thought with the athleticism that I kind of thought they had in the running game, I thought they were kind of that number 3, number 4 team, and it's going to end up being Huntington North for sure. Yeah.
And then, Jeff, I'll let you comment on this real quick, but I wanted to mention Tony Decker last week, 10 of 13 for 368 yards passing. That's pretty prolific. Again, against Norwell. Norwell's struggled a little bit this year. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, and I was just thinking about Decker and where is he going to end up on the all NE8 team? Is he an athlete? Is he first team all conference safety, quarterback? That'll be interesting. But and you're right, Casey. The sophomore Ethan Wake here is not a bad prospect for New Haven. So it's always fun to see a sophomore having some success, knowing that you're going to have him for 2 more years. But I know Jaron Matheny is a substitute teacher at Huntington North, came up through their media program, and he says the buzz in the hallways, over there at Huntington North for their football team is unlike anything he's ever felt during his time being a part of that school.
That's pretty cool.
That's
I mean,
really
through
cool.
the years, we always think of Huntington North as a basketball school, even a girls' basketball school back in the day with Lisa Winter. Baseball, they've had some good baseball teams, but the football program has been hit or miss, more miss than anything over the last 25 years. So I believe this is the first time since 2009 that they'll have 6 wins, which is going back a few years. So happy for Coach Eschbach and all the folks out there in Huntington. Beautiful stadium, and I like those kids at our photo shoot. You could kind of feel it. They had good chemistry and a really good, strong senior class. Sully Stahl, Decker, of course, Marcus Linker, all those guys are doing good things this year.
Cool.
All right, last one. All three of us can talk about this one a little bit. Jeff, I'll start with you or Jake. Either one can take it. Adams Central 7-1. Wow, how we kind of dumped dirt on them when they lost week 1, right? 20-7. We should have known better. Since then, they've been just dominant. I mean, you look at their scores, nothing's been close. Last week, they beat a really good Bluffton team 49-24, and they are conference champs once again, traveling out to Woodland. And the Woodland Warriors have quietly won 4 straight. Coach Rohrbacher, I think, deserves a ton of credit. That was another team early on. I think everybody kind of rolled their eyes or raised an eyebrow like, what's going on out at Woodburn? And, man, they put things together, and it's old-fashioned smash mouth, punch you in the face football, running the ball with Drew Fleek. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Woodland's going to be a 500 team this year. So right away, my thoughts are great job by head coach Brock Rohrbacher, getting that dub last week over South Adams 35-28. And one of the things that they've done is they've moved Ty Loudon over to safety, and now they can bring Carter Fleek up and put him at an outside backer, which, wow, definitely paid dividends for them last week. Are they going to win this game? I don't think so. Just too much firepower for Adams Central. I mean, they're just the wheels are being greased, and man, they look as good as they did a year ago, to be honest with you. So in the Woodland, definitely they're getting better. I can't wait to see them in the postseason, and just shout out to them. 4 straight victories. I would have never have thought it after that loss to Heritage.
Yeah, good call out. And Carter Fleek, I believe, 2 weeks in a row now with an interception. To your point, Jeff, they are a different team on that side of the ball with that change. Snake?
Yeah, no, we were talking right after the first break, that week 1 loss. We're like, oh my gosh, the AC reign is done. And it doesn't look that way now. So yeah, great season again, and they're going to make it a nice run in playoffs, I feel like.
Well, yeah, they're up in 2A, and we'll talk more about it next year. But just analyzing the brackets, they can make another deep run for sure. And it's going to be fun to see. The last time they were in 2A, I believe, was 1990 and 91. Wow. I believe there was a 2-year stretch there. And to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure they've never won a sectional in anything but 1A, just like the Bishop Lures Knights have never won a sectional or a state title anyways. I believe sectionals too in anything but 2A.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know that. So those are 2 programs. You could probably say the same thing about Snyder, even though 6A's only been around a while. But our 3 local teams that played in the state championships a year ago, all moving up a class this year, have not fared well in these particular class assignments. So it'd be neat if somebody proves them wrong. And one thing to keep an eye on is possible semi-state clash between Garrett and Bishop Lures. Tell me that wouldn't be licking our chops for that, guys. And we'll talk more about that next week. I know Jeff would love to check that game out. All right, let's take a quick peek at the senior spotlights. Jeff, you have any? I know sometimes you pull out some funny ones there when you read through those. Anything there that jumps out at you?
Just Jordan Borders. Jordan came into that Columbia City game with 1 catch on the season, and then catches 2 touchdown passes of 24 yards. He goes 6'2", 190, just to go, add him to the rest of the big wide receivers they have over there at East Noble. So that's kind of cool to see him up there. Delaney likes the T-bone steak, and his favorite movie is Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, need you say more? You could probably put T-bone and Wolf of Wall Street with about 9 of those defenders for Bishop Dwenger, the way they run around and just lay the wood. So Landis, his favorite movie is Star Wars. I think a lot of people could say that one right there. Very, very popular. Roman Mayer's dream job is an electrician. And I absolutely love that right there, because my buddy owns a construction company. And once they get done with the electrical, they have to bring in an electrician, certified, to make sure everything looks good. And my buddy was telling me they're charging like $200 an hour because you can't find those guys. So yeah, you want to make money, Roman. That's not a bad route at all. Ian Amstutz, New Haven. Boy, there's Amstutz all over the place in Northeast Indiana. But Attack of the Clones, Star Wars is his favorite movie. Wants to be a civil engineer. Maybe he'll end up at Purdue or Indiana Tech.
Perhaps his mom, Melissa, is the one who takes some pictures for game night.
Very cool.
So thank you to Melissa, and Ian's a great kid. And a lot of those guys, I love a lot of the answers, Jeff, on the movies. There's a lot of throwbacks from the 80s. You can tell the parents, and I think that speaks to Hollywood sucking over the last 10 or 15 years, but also how kids now, have that connection with their parents through films and music and things like that.
And Jalen Schaefer from West Noble wants to be a landscaper, and I absolutely love landscaping. If I wasn't doing media, I'd be working alongside Jalen for sure.
I bet he's got a great tan in the summer, right? He's probably already got his own business. He's driving a Camaro.
Yep.
I'm just saying. All right, let's get out of there and turn it over to the Snake. Why don't you give us 3 minutes here for the Snake to talk a little bit about Dylan Creel?
Yeah, sorry, Casey. Just had a stroke over there. Looks like the Guardians are about to lose to the Yanks, so that's cool. Anyway, looking at this week's synopsis. Dylan, absolute unit. Jeff has been singing his praises now for a couple of years. Obviously contributing on both sides of the ball, running back and linebacker. 5'7", 200 pounds, currently offered by DePaul, Wabash, St. Francis, and recently this week, our good friend Coach Abs looks like he's put an offer out to him to the University of Trine, which is fantastic.
Smart move.
And Coach Ty, good buddy of mine, knows him best as he's now the running backs coach up there. Just how we all feel about this guy. Jeff Mahoney said it for years and years. He's a football guy through and through. There's just, I don't know, and I could definitely argue that for a single player to contribute on both sides of the ball the way that he has, I just don't know that there's been anybody else in the area that's done as much for his team as a singular player as Dylan has. And somebody's going to get a good football player. And that's the whole mentality of this page in this article is, to me, this is an NAIA D3, potentially D2. Coach Ty even thinks maybe some D2 level out of him. But when you look at his height, some guys are going to hold him back on that 5'7". And that's where somebody like Coach Abs is going to sneak in and steal this guy. And this guy is going to be laying the lumber for the next couple of years at a local college around here, and just phenomenal football player. And then going down to our eyeballing section, speaking of eyeballing section, we had put Dylan in last season in that section. And as the season went on, we just thought more and more that, man, he has to get in this thing. He's just contributed too much. I personally like him more at the running back position, but you could argue a lot of coaches may like him at backer. Either way, great player, another NE8 stud. And then going down to the eyeballing section, tongue twister, Avery Freemian. He's our edge, outside linebacker at Columbia City. Tall kid for us, 6'3", 230 pound. Lean, moves well. Just had a game day visit to Western Michigan, and it looks like he's got a visit to IU coming up. So for the size, length that he has and movement, his motor on the edge, I think is perfect. And I like seeing more guys that are true edge players, and he kind of fits the bill there. And then probably my favorite, one of my top 3 favorites this year that I've talked to on X, Derek Bus Jones. When you get a nickname like Bus, you got to be a big dude. This guy is definitely a big dude. About 6'4", 335 pounds.
Beast.
And man, looking at I loved it. He starts posting some of his film up after they get the big win over Lures. You start watching the kid with a little bit more work in his technique. This guy's got the frame. So if they can get him to the size and skill set that they want, man, you talk about an A-gap stuffer at the nose, or I'm really impressed with him at right tackle, on the O-line, not necessarily backside left tackled blocker, but the front side on a right-handed quarterback. I think he'd fit there well. Notably, probably going to put him more in a nose position, but all three awesome football players in the area, and a couple of these guys, I think Avery could be a guy that you'd be looking at a feature on next year.
The bus has got great chops too. I noticed.
Yeah, he
has
does.
Great chops. Jake, I want to ask you about Dylan. You know, I've always liked him as a potential linebacker at the next level, but the more I've watched him, especially this year at running back, his footwork in the hole and his vision, and I think he runs so hard in the right offense, especially like an H-back or a fullback type.
Yep.
I think he could have a heck of a career toting the rock, and you see him more as a running back at the next level, don't you?
I do. I love what you said there. Fullback, H-back, and they do a lot of the H-back stuff up at East Noble, and he could fill in. It's kids like this that it's just a bummer that just by genetics he's 5'7". If this kid was 6 foot, be a whole different list of offers for him just based on that alone, and he's going to make somebody a heck of a football player. And you start looking, a lot of these running backs that seem athletic at the high school level and they can get outside, get the edge. You're like, man, he's so fast. A lot of that stuff doesn't matter as much at college. Yeah, true 4.4 speed, more a wide receiver, defensive back position is a big deal. But at the running back, are you actually going to run in the proper scheme? Are you going to run downhill the way you're supposed to? And he does. So,
yeah, for sure. He's had a great career up there. Jeff, your thoughts on this feature?
No, I agree too. And when I talked to him, I think he's leaning towards DePaul in that
Nice.
DePaul Wabash rivalry. That's a great rivalry in D3, by the way.
Tiger tail.
Yeah. But I see him as a running back. And this year, what he's been doing this year really kind of swayed me to that side. I mean, he gets so low, and he's really, really fast for his size. And when you can get low like that, you're just a bowling ball. I mean, he'll be able to barrel through defenders. So I thought it was a no-brainer that he's a running back at the next level, but I talked to college coaches, and they just like how strong he is at linebacker.
Well, he's going to have options, and that's the good news. And he's a great kid, and we all know him well enough that he wants to play at the next level, and that's what 95% of the battle is that heart right in here, and he wants to do it. So we're pulling for you, Dylan. Hopefully the offers keep tumbling in, and you end up at the right place. We know you will.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk briefly the standings page. I'll just tackle this and then turn it over to you guys for the leaders board. Again, hats off to our conference champs. I mean, Carroll, we had Coach Rudolph down here, defense coordinator for the Chargers. What a season they've put together, winning 6 in a row since that 0-2 start. Northeast 8, again, East Noble playing really good football right now. And I agree with you, Jeff. I think East Noble Snyder is a much closer game this time around. I think Snyder gets them, but not by 25 points.
Right.
ACAC, we said it just a minute ago, Adams Central, Coach Mosier, just when it looked like maybe they were going to step back and be human, they blow the doors off everybody in that conference. And you've got Heritage and Bluffton and Woodland and South Adams all doing pretty good things this year. So that's impressive. And then, of course, the NECC, Garrett and Cherubusco, hoisting some hardware this week. So congratulations to all those teams. Can't wait to see how things shake out in the postseason. But let's spend a couple minutes talking about the leaders board before we go through the picks. Jake, I'll turn it over to you first. Well, anything you want to, I mean, Titus Lehman taking over the lead in passing for South Adams. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, looking down through there, obviously being a homer, Gavin Smith, 6 picks there for CC. That's awesome. Kamar still 14 sacks up there. Very cool. And how far away do you think Pruitt is away from the rushing title?
249.
249 away from Big Brother. Is that right?
249 yards to become the all-time career rushing leader at West Noble. Big Brother Brandon owns that record. I don't know what the number is, but I do know it's 249. So I think that's an extra reason for Coach Monty Maywater to leave Seth in the lineup in the second half tomorrow night. We'll see. What do you think, Jeff?
Wow, Drew Fleek now on the list here, taking the number 10 spot with 719 yards rushing. Nathan Foster just cannot be stopped this year. His season is just so impressive, especially with Leo struggling to throw the ball early on. Wow, and he got it done against Columbia City too.
Yes.
Tagulis, still up there, but I think I said it 2 weeks ago. I think Jimmy Sullivan it's tough too because South Adams is at Southern Wells. So does that equate to big numbers, or does that equate to playing 2 quarters and
One
then
half of
being
football.
done?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but I for some reason I feel like Jimmy Sullivan's going to be on top there when it's said and done. And McKean jumps Arroyo, which is pretty cool to see for South Adams. Last week Carter Fleek definitely was paying attention to McKean, kind of following him around the field. So Woodland was not going to let the big wide receiver beat them. Braden Walter in the top 3 here for Heritage. Heritage has got Tagulas, the quarterback, Nasir Martin, the rusher, and now to have Braden Walter up there. Got to feel good for Coach Hollinger in his first year just to see guys compiling stats. Kemar, I do not. I think we probably saw Kemar at maybe 50% last week. I don't know if he was sick or what, but he definitely did not look like himself down there on the field. And still with 14 sacks, 1 less game played than most of the kids. And Gavin Smith, the more I watch Gavin Smith play, this kid can do absolutely everything. You feel like he's the type of kid that can start for any team in the state just because he is so versatile. But, every week, like you said, he had the forced fumble, right, Jake? On that
forced
first
fumble
and
goal line
recovery.
stand.
Yeah, and he just stripped it. Yeah, it was a big play.
He's a smart player.
Just super, super impressive.
He's a Smith.
There.
He's a Whitley County Smith. I mean, it's just how they roll out there.
There's a lot of us. No relation, and there's still a lot of us.
Well, and I think Kamar Nelson might have been dinged up a week ago. And so there's a lot of guys, again, with all these conference championships kind of solidified, I think we're going to see a boatload of stars sitting out tomorrow night. And if I'm a head coach, I'm resting a lot of my key guys too if they got bumps and bruises. No sense.
For sure.
But yeah, if you've got momentum or you need to get momentum because you're coming off a loss, that's a tricky balance as a coach and a coaching staff making those decisions in week 9. So it'll be interesting to see what folks do tomorrow night because you got to keep that mojo going because when the season's over, it's over.
I want to see Kamar's numbers from last week. I think at 50%, he's still better than most starters in the area.
Yeah, no doubt.
He still averaged over 4 yards a carry. So
there we go.
All right, let's do some picks real quick, guys. We'll just do the featured matchups. We'll do kind of a rapid fire here. We're a little over schedule, and I'll just tee you guys up, and we'll go back and forth and have a little fun with it. Why don't we start first? Carroll at Northside. Swami says Carroll by 21. Jeff, what are your thoughts there? Is that too many points?
I think so. I'm not going to say 17-16 like the Wayne game, but I think the Legends are definitely going to be in this one. Total breakout game by Malik Moore last week with the 2 or 3 touchdown receptions, the 2 interceptions.
I think he had 3 and 2 picks.
Yeah, 144 yards receiving on 4 receptions. I mean, Tristan
Awesome.
Newsom and him had a real connection in that game, and I think that's going to carry over.
Okay. Snake?
Yeah, Carroll by 21 sounds good to me.
35-14 Chargers. All right, Concordia at Bishop Dwenger. Swami says running clock in the third quarter, Saints by 35. Did the Saints get right offensively, Jake?
I think so, and I think defensively they're going to get some takeaways. I like it. 35 sounds good.
Jeff?
Yeah, Concordia is going to score a touchdown early in this one, and then the Saints just roll. I definitely see a running clock in the second half.
Okay, Snyder at Wayne. It's another tough one. Again, not knowing who's going to sit. Swami says Snyder by 28. Is that too many, Jeff, or not enough?
I think it's too many just because of the week number 9 and not a whole lot on the line, but I don't think that Wayne's a real threat in this game.
It was 37-0 last year, Snyder, in this matchup. What are your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, I think even if Snyder sits a little bit, just as militant as they are in their preparation, I think the 28 looks good.
Southside at Northrop. Swami says Southside by 7. Yes, it's not a misprint.
Yeah.
You said earlier you think the Archers win this outright. 7 seem about right?
I was hoping for a 1-point upset like last week, but I'll take the 7. Southside, baby.
Okay, they're playing really good football.
Run the rock.
Really good football. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, Southside's going to win this one, and I think Southside's going to put at least 2 touchdowns on the board, maybe 3. So I'm going to say Southside by 8.
Nice.
The deaf one.
Right.
She's chiming in. I think she likes the Bruins and upset special. I tell you what, it'll depend. David Callison can play. It's a home game. This would be a great opportunity for Northrop to kind of bookend their regular season.
Yeah.
They're not going to win that sectional. They open with Carroll. But that being said, it would be a great opportunity with a lot of those guys coming back next year to get a late season win. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Bruins rise up, and maybe Southside is reading their clippings just a little bit too much, but we'll see. Swami said South by 7. Homestead at Lures. This is another tough one. The enigma known as the Bishop Lures Knights. I'm with you, Jeff. I kind of want to lean towards Lures playing at home just to fix things after 2 tough losses. But Swami says Homestead by 4. Your thoughts?
I'm going to take it a next step further. I'm going to go Homestead by 17.
Oh, my
No
mercy.
You read took the words out of my mouth. That's exact 17 Homestead, no question.
I'll take those
wow.
points. I'll take a bet with both of you guys for some cold beverages.
Here we go.
And some cigars, right? I'll smoke a cigar with Doug Dinan doing some whiteboard action.
That's right.
On that one. All right. I think it's a close game, and I think Bishop Lures has to figure some things out when their backs are against the wall. Traditionally, especially when Kyle Lindsey's been there, they respond. So we'll see. They don't have much of a choice. The playoffs are upon us. Columbia City at Norwell. Swami says Columbia City by 38. Does Coach Fox call off the Eagles or the Dogs or the Foxes or whatever the hell they're doing over there in Columbia City?
No.
They're going to go
Eagles
over 38?
45.
45. Oh, you only put an extra touchdown. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I feel like it's something around there. Eagles 42. I mean, you might have 3 guys with 100 yards rushing in this game.
Well, I think it's a running clock third quarter, but I also think the Eagles are smart enough to unload the bench, and playoffs are here. But we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. Those Smiths, those Whitley County Smiths love to run up the score, don't they? DeKalb at Leo. Swami says Leo by 24. Man, that's another tough one. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a little high right there. I'm going to go Leo by 17.
Okay.
Running clock second half, Leo by 35.
I think you guys are right in the middle. Swami's right in the middle between the two of you.
After East Noble and Columbia City losses, if there is a more ticked off team on earth, it's the Lions.
You may be onto something. They might want to put a big number up and get that mojo, that confidence back for the postseason. East Noble at Belmont. Oh, my mercy. Swami felt guilty putting this East Noble by 63. Is that fair? Is that right? Jeff, I'm going to go to you.
That's fair, and that's absolutely right. East Noble can sleepwalk and get that 63.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I'm pulling for Belmont to show up and fight and keep it close early on. What are your thoughts, Jake?
Dead on. East Noble by 63. Yep, I'm in.
Okay. New Haven and Huntington North. Another tricky one. Swami said Huntington North, the Vikings by 41. Snake.
I'm going to say Huntington North by like 28, and only because I think they're going to pass the ball a little bit. Some of those incompletions may lead to a little bit more of a punt here or there, but definitely 6 wins for the first time since 2009 for sure.
Yep. And Jeff, your thoughts on this one?
New Haven played DeKalb kind of close. I'd say Huntington North. It's going to be right around that 38, 40, 41 mark. Sure.
Okay. I just don't see New Haven moving the ball against it. Bless you, Jackson. Moving the ball against that Huntington North defense, I don't think gets the credit they deserve. I think they've done a really good job. Adams Central at Woodland, our last featured game. Jeff, coming back to you. Swami says Flying Jets by 26.
I feel like Woodland has the type of guys to compete against Adams Central, not to win, but to keep it under 26. Let's go Adams Central by 17.
Okay. Snake?
Yeah, I like where Jeff's head's at today. I think at AC by 17, that seems plausible.
Well, it'll be out at Woodburn. And again, if they can run the ball with some success, the Warriors will hang around. If they can't, I think it's a 4-score game. Look at that hit. Show that hit there, Jeff, of Brandon Logan. I remember seeing that in the first quarter of last week's game against Bishop Dwenger. And I remember as the hit happened, I thought, man, that's the big tag of the week. And a lot of times the photographers don't get them. But John Martin, the Bishop Dwenger photographer, got that one for sure. What a great picture. And man, he decleated that kid. It was a textbook tackle by Brandon Logan, the future Notre Dame Fighting Irish free safety. Jake, do you love that?
Belo is definitely a 4x4 piece of lumber right there.
Did you just drop a Belo on him?
Yeah, for sure.
You're just so hip. Love that about
I'm just
you.
naming everything this week.
Love that about you. Jeff, what do you think about that stick?
Dylan Krell, the Kendallville Crusher.
The Kendallville Crusher.
The Kendallville Crusher.
I know the game night editors almost clipped that, but they left it in for you.
I appreciate
it. The perfect positioning here by John Martin. Perfect job getting it in focus there on the hit. I mean, that's one of the better pictures that you'll ever find. You know, another hit that was fun in that game was Dougie Henry with the hit on Vance by the sideline.
That caused a fumble, another big hit. And John Martin got a good picture of that as well.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was on the Dwenger page this week. So he did a great job. All the photographers have. Thank you again to all the game night contributors this year. Thank you to you guys, too, for all your help and support in promoting what we do with game night. We are done. I can take a deep breath now and get back to life and actually, be a dad and a husband and a dog walker and all those things that I need to be doing that I don't do for the last 3 months, trying to put this thing together each week. But it's a labor of love. It's so much fun, but we will still talk high school football, and I'll probably be able to watch a little bit more film now, which is nice.
Yes.
So, Jeff, anything else you want to add before we shut it down?
Heritage by 33. I like that. South Adams by 47. Like that. Garrett by 43. I mean, all of these are really, really good. Angola by 14. Busco by 1.
That's the upset special.
The Fighting Turtles flummox the Falcons in the upset special. Book it.
That might be the first time that flummox has come out of the Swami's fingertips.
I love Busco Nation, but I'm going to say it one more time. We were the first Eagles. We were the longest Eagles, and we're starting a petition, the Cherubusco Terps. It's coming.
The Fighting
Terps. Starting it, and I'm co-signing it.
Jeff's going to drive around illegally in his four-wheeler and with a big Terps flag hanging off the back. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, also real quick, game night will be at IU versus Nebraska this next week, and in a few weeks, one Jackson Geiger will be representing game night at Purdue when the Nittany Lions come to town for an upset special.
For Purdue's first win of
the
season.
Hey, they beat Indiana State. I'm going to win this Friday.
No one can hear you right now, Jackson. You don't have a microphone for a reason. You've been muted, young man.
Hey, another petition to start. Kemar Nelson to Purdue, rush in. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Yeah. Yes, those sacks are not an accident. They're legit. I'm with you. That would be cool. So next year we want to do a little more collegiate, like an on-campus type feature in game night, and so we're going to try to expand there. We've got too many good players locally playing at the next level, and we want to make sure we give them a shout out each week.
It's like last year at Xander's soccer game, getting down to U of Indy, man. There's a lot of good players all over, and Casey was able to get me a press pass, so I love the idea.
We're going to keep doing it. Jeff, we're going to have to get some road trips with you too.
Yes, sir.
Not just up in Turtle Country.
Hey, and congrats to both you boys this year on another great year of game night, another great year of Summit City Sports. You guys kill it every time.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Jeff. All right, everybody, that was another week of Around the Fort. We will see you next week, and we'll talk the playoffs. So join us next Thursday. For Jeff, I'm Casey, Jackson, and Jake. Are we off?
Nope.
No, you're still on.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Why choose Kelly Chevrolet? We offer a wide selection of new and used inventory with the team that guides you to your perfect fit. Our certified pre-owned options ensure peace of mind with warranties and rigorous inspections. Competitive pricing, flexible financing, and convenient trade and services, making your dream Chevrolet a reality. Trust our experienced service team to keep your vehicle in top shape and enjoy free car washes as long as you own your vehicle.